Jake, you see those two high peaks off to the left there, way off?
Yeah.
The two peaks, Graham and Doubletop. I live 6 miles this side of them. I mean,
Okay.
that's where I come from. But the roads don't go straight. It's 29 miles from here to my house, although by air distance it's probably only 2/3 that.
Oh, wow.
Because the roads don't go in a straight line. You can see why.
Right. That makes sense.
In fact, there are not that many roads in the Catskills that do go in a straight line. Otherwise, I'd have to go right through or over the mountains. I just can't see people who, or understand people who want to live in an area that's flat. I just couldn't. Seems to me I've had mountains around me all my life. What, do you want me to start talking about something?
Sure.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well-
give us a tour of the valley. What
Well,
are
we're
you-
looking south from Mount Utsayantha, and you're looking into what's known as the Township Valley. And there was a plan in the mid-19th century to build a whole village down here. They had the streets laid out and names and lot numbers and houses, but it never really came to fruition. They never really got much of a village going there. Instead, they pretty much the whole population sent and moved into the villages of Stamford and Holbrook. But it was called Township Valley. It was located southwest of here. I don't think you can quite see it. Township Brook is the stream that drains it. You're still in the West Branch, Delaware watershed, which goes into the Cannonsville Reservoir, which goes into the New York City water supply. If you continue downstream from the Cannonsville Reservoir, the West Branch, Delaware goes into the main Delaware, and it comes out into the Atlantic Ocean below Philadelphia. And you're looking at the ridges south of here. Way off in the distance to the southeast are the high peaks of the Catskills, the western high peaks. They're 3,860 some odd feet for both Graham and Doubletop Mountain and Balsam Lake Mountain. Those are my backyard mountains. I'm still exploring them. You think I know them all? I don't. And these ridges around here running around 3,000, 3,200, maybe 33 for the highest. We're almost 3,200 here. But what you can see is that the pastures, existing pastures, pastures that have been abandoned, different stages of growing in. Notice that the ridge lines are forested. It's not that they were too high to pasture, it's that they were too rough and steep, although there are some pastures that used to be on the tops of those ridges no longer. But this really gives you a good idea of the history of land use. You can see it all here. You can see where the power line goes through Narrow Notch. It's a straight shot right up the ridge and then down the other side. So you have this patchwork quilt of existing pasture lands, former pasture lands, woodlots, and not around here so much do you have any original growth forest left. Almost all these hills that you can see in the foreground have been logged up to their summits. Because you're in the western Catskills, they're not quite as high, they're not quite as steep, they're not quite as rugged, so you can get log roads up there. So almost everything you see here has been logged over at least once. It's not until you get to the high peaks way out there on the horizon where the mountains get up 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 3,800 feet where you get some of the original growth forest. In fact, some of us just last week have been still mapping some of the first growth forest up on Graham Mountain, one of the high peaks down there. But I think when we were up here once before doing an impromptu, unrehearsed, interpretive talk, we spoke about how this differs from the eastern Catskills. The high peaks of Ulster and Greene County, say around the Slide and Hunter Mountain areas, you would not see anywhere nearly as much farmland or pasture. The mountains would be steeper, they would be higher, they would be more rugged. You would not find logging on the top of all of them. Some of them were just too steep and too high, too stunted a forest to be logged. So there is a difference between the western Catskills, where we are now in Delaware County, and the main high peaks of the eastern Catskills in Greene and Ulster counties. Difference in the topography, difference in the steepness and the elevation, the land use history, and not only that, even the Native American history, but there are some differences. This part of the Catskills is not exactly the same as the eastern part. You don't have much of a difference from north to south, but from east to west. Also, you don't have spruce fir forests, real northern boreal coniferous spruce fir forests in this western part. You have to go farther east to get them. Although Balsam Lake Mountain and Double Top on the horizon there do have balsam fir, but the mountains to the west don't. And it's not because they lost them. That's what I thought for decades. They probably never had them, or if they did, in very limited quantities. You go east in the Catskills, you get more spruce and fir trees, evergreens up on the tops of many of the ridges. And of course, differences I'm repeating now in elevation and steepness and in ledges. If you're bushwhacking in these mountains, that is climbing without trails, in this part of the Catskills, if you hit a bedrock ledge, a vertical wall, you can usually get around it pretty easily, and they're usually 10, 20, 30 feet tall. You can't do that in the eastern Catskills. Some of those bedrock ledges, the walls are 50 or 100 feet high. You'd have a job getting around them, or you need your rock climbing equipment. And you just don't have those steep walls here in the Catskills that go up that high. So it's more rugged farther east in the higher peaks. Less farmland climbing to lower elevations, more first growth forest. There is a difference.
All right, good.
You want to go to the summit?
Yeah.